first of all, I really want to thank you for your time, for being here today. Um, I've first heard about you from a French expert, mining expert, whose name is Sébastien Gouspilou. I'm sure you've heard about him. And so he told me how the mining industry was booming in Ethiopia, that there was really strong potential. And so I looked into what you were doing, and so I decided, especially regarding the announcements back in February 27, that you would be the perfect match to comment on that. So just before we get into it, I just want to ask you if you could tell us more about who you are and a little bit about your background and how you got introduced into Bitcoin.
Sure. My name is Kal Kassa. My full name is Yesu Kal Kassa. Well, we actually use father names in Ethiopia, so it's Yesu Kal Haile Jesus Kassa Tasama, and then it continues. And I was born in Ethiopia. I left at the age of 3. I grew up in California, in San Jose, Silicon Valley, and I went to school in Orange County. And I moved back to Ethiopia in 2013. So I've been here for 10 years now, and I work as an advisor. I started my career, and I still support Grant Thornton Advisory. And a lot of our work is bringing in investors on the corporate finance side, right? Buy side, sell side, due diligence, audit, and then making sure that there's a good valuation for these companies as they go through privatization. So that's what I've been doing for 10 years now. And Ethiopia is under this process of privatization, right? 30 years ago, we were a communist country. And so we're still kind of waking up into the private sector. We're allowing more competition, and we're breaking up monopolies. And so the free market is definitely taking a hold. And so, yeah, I've been here for that time, working with different businesses, working with a lot of the public sector, even, right? The UN offices, and so on. I was a founding board member of American Chamber of Commerce. So, alongside companies like Dow Chemical and Deloitte and Coca-Cola and so on. And so, yes, I've been here for, quite a bit. And I've, been interested in Bitcoin now for 4 years or so. And I work on the education side, so I do a lot of talking and presenting, and yeah.
Yeah, because you're considered like the forefront of Bitcoin education and mining in Ethiopia, right? I mean, how did you, how were you introduced to that? And I mean, what was the click for you? Like, okay, this is something I really need to look into, and there's really potential for my country, and I want to be involved in that.
Yeah, the click was in June of 2020 during the Corona lockdowns. Ethiopia had an assassination, and then we followed into a civil war. And for 3 weeks, they turned off the internet in Ethiopia. And so the currency was devalued a great deal, both in the black market and the official rate. And even the networking was down, so the banks weren't able to communicate with each other. So you weren't able to take out money, unfortunately. And also during that period, capital controls are a big thing here. So you can't really leave the country with capital, with goods, with a certain amount of gold or jewelry or what have you. And so during that time, I left with very little, like just a backpack, really. And I just watched my money tank, and I learned. I knew about Bitcoin, but I think I made the effort to learn about Bitcoin as a solution, and as a tool, and all of this. So that's more or less my story. It really takes place within 2 or 3 weeks of me not having internet, and me thinking about all of the ways that we can communicate without centralized authorities.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So yeah, we were saying earlier that on February 27, the Ethiopian Investment Holding made an official statement regarding a memorandum of understanding with a data mining company. So can you walk us through the context prior to this announcement and what it entails exactly?
Sure. So the MOU is published on LinkedIn as well as Twitter and their official website. So the Ethiopian Investment Holdings is an umbrella company, you can say, or a holdings company for the state-owned assets and enterprises. So Ethiopian Airlines, Ethio Telecom, Commercial Bank, all of these companies are under that EIH, they call it. And its chairman is Dr. Abiy, our prime minister. And so the idea is that they have a share or some partnership with a multinational, international company investing here, multi millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. And this is significant for Ethiopia because not only does it mean we can generate earnings through energy sales to these miners, right? 2 cents kilowatt hour. But it also means we have potential to now earn dividends, earn Bitcoin, earn some yield, right? The rewarded amount for the miners will now go into the treasury of the state and the state coffers. And so how will they use that? Will they use that, or will they sit on that in dollar terms, or will they keep it in Bitcoin? I think things like this are going to be interesting. We're also waiting for a law from the Information Network Security Administration has asked me to present a few lectures and give exams and so on, and I'm happy to do so. And so they are uh, learning about Bitcoin. I mean, they have 2,000 staff, so they want to be sure that they've covered their bases. And they are also advising the Parliament on finalizing and drafting and finalizing a law specific to Bitcoin mining. So right now there are 21 companies working here, operating here. They have business licenses. Some are hashing, but many more want to come in. So we're fixing up the laws, and we're dedicating power and substations and so on.
Awesome. I mean, how is the regulation in Ethiopia coming up? Because I believe like that crypto trading is banned there, but government is opened. I mean, favorable to Bitcoin mining. How do you see the future of regulation in Ethiopia?
Sure, it's probably two different conversations, right? When you talk about the legal tender or the medium of exchange, it's one thing completely. And then when you talk about mining and data centers and being able to tap into your hydroelectric energy source, right, your Nile River, and generate. Right now, we have 2 gigawatts of stranded energy. Once we plug in the dam, that gets us another 6 gigawatts. But the potential for the country is somewhere around 40 to 60 if we can build proper facilities and power stations and so on. So the law will have to address both of these things. I mean, the first one, there are capital controls. So technically speaking, if I were, well, I'm an American citizen, but if someone here was caught with $20 in their pocket without any other documentation, that would be a criminal offense. And so you would have to forfeit it to the government and so on. Yes. And so that being said, we understand that the official market or the bank rate is often very small. There's no liquidity. It's reserved for the few close to the banks and the branches and the government authorities. So it's very difficult for the black market to not exist. The black market is huge. The peer-to-peer market is huge. Binance, Paxful. I mean, the few friends that I have on Telegram, I mean, probably do $1 million of volume every year, and we do no advertising. We have no safes or treasuries, or we're just like kids at a cafe, right? Moving some money around, and maybe somebody has some cash, and somebody pays for my flight somewhere, and so and I know Binance and Paxful and all the rest are doing so much more, right? And so there's a premium, of course. The Koreans call it a kimchi premium. The Ethiopians call it an injera premium. It's essentially, the official rate, the black market or real rate. And then because Bitcoin is so in demand, and that liquidity might not be there, people are willing to pay a premium even just to have a conversation with a peer, have a beer with someone, have a book kind of exchange, right? We have a book group here, or a book club. So we're putting together libraries in different areas. So yeah, I think the money thing is fixing itself out. It's solving itself out, and then the law thing. I mean, within a few weeks, a few months, we will probably see a final law from Parliament.
Can you tell us why is Ethiopia the perfect place to mine Bitcoin?
Sure. So our energy rates are very cheap. So under 1 cent for residential, under 2 cents for commercial, and the miners are striking up deals under 3 and 4 cents kilowatt hour, which is very good. And on top of that, the production is powered by hydroelectric energy. It's a dam that we've already self-financed and built. It was, I believe, a $6 billion dam. It took us, 15 plus years to build. And so we have all of this hydroelectric energy, and we have the Nile, the power of the Nile, which starts in Ethiopia. And so when you add to this Ethiopia, because of its tectonic plates and the way kind of the altitude works, we're about 2 to 3 thousand meters above sea level. So there's natural cooling that happens. So we don't have to invest too much in warehouses and facilities that have air escapes. And our hills and our altitude do that quite naturally. And on top of that, 75% of our population is under the age of um, 27. So when it comes to technicians and electrical engineers and the guys maintaining these miners, and not just the ones in Ethiopia, but bringing them in through Ethiopian Airlines, the cargo network, servicing them here, our labor is much cheaper than France. So we're able to have a stronger output with very little capital. So I think Ethiopia is perfectly positioned.
The BitcoinBirr. That's a project that you founded. Uh, and yeah, tell us a little bit about it and how you came up to launching this project.
Sure. I mean, there wasn't a good place for a free, clean education for Ethiopians. Most of the education that existed in 2018, 19, and 2020 were scammy, right? They were people trying to take your credit card information and run off. And so I said, okay, how hard is it to put a Telegram group together? Today we have 1,000 members. We have two great moderators, Futsum and Sam, and it's a place to learn about Bitcoin. So we do free events, free presentations, free workshops. We give away Bitcoin. I've given away thousands of dollars of Bitcoin as a tool for learning. We're going to be doing hackathons, and we'll be building peer-to-peer tools and exchanges, marketplaces. We have several locations in Addis Ababa, so it allows you to onboard in person. And now the focus is in Eritrea, so Bitcoin Nakfa. So unfortunately, Eritrea is not as free as Ethiopia, so I can't exactly hold a lecture or an event there. And actually, meetings or discussions beyond 5 participants is illegal, because that type of discourse is really not encouraged. And so we're looking at setting up, living room conversations, dining room conversations with 4 or 5 people, keeping within the law, but doing this many times, dozens of times, over and over again. And we hope to share the message.
Very good. Cal, is there a question that I haven't asked you and that you wished you could answer to?
No question. I think you've really touched on a lot. I think there's a lot of good communities here focused on Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, energy. We'll be putting together some conferences probably later this year. There's a mining conference in September. There's going to be kind of a more general conference in October. We look forward to completing the law and releasing the law. There's going to be a consultative period where the draft will take on different comments and edits. And then we look to attract capital. So there's substations going in. There's geothermal facilities coming into place, Bozzetti Energy being one. And then there are marketplaces kind of popping up in different apps and spheres. And then I'm also excited about the entertainment industry here in Ethiopia. Mido Records and Misrak Studios. They work across Africa, and they are incentivizing their musicians to learn about Bitcoin, so they take custody in Bitcoin, so they're not gypped right through their career, and they earn per play, and they can take sovereign payment without the Spotify fee, right? So I think there's so much that's going to be going on here because it's a population of 120 million people, and they're just really smart young kids that I think are going to build a very good future.
Yeah, what I really like is that it's really youth oriented and really focused on the country and serving the people and growing together. This is really admirable, and that was one thing that I like about your spirit. Um, if someone wants to collaborate with you, I mean, get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Sure, Twitter is a good place. My Gmail, Kal Kassa, BitcoinBirr. We have a GitHub. Our mods are very good at education, so anybody that wants to learn more, they're in a good place to provide that education. And Telegram, that's where the community exists. That's where all of the learning exists. So all of those stations, I'm available.
Thank you so much, Cal.
Thank you, Yannick.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much, brother.